'Cause I'd still pick you in the checkout line when the coupons fail and the card declines, when the kids are screaming and the car won't steer, and I'm one small inconvenience from a breakdown in here. Yeah, I'd still pick you. You're my steady north, my Jedi in my court.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Is Life with Tim and Jenna. We're so excited to be with you guys today. I know we're going to change things up a little bit. We thank you so much for jumping in with us the past few weeks as we kind of just shared a little bit about who we are and about just our love for marriage. And so,
enough about us. Let's jump into some hot topics.
We want to talk about some hot topics that apply to marriage that maybe you guys are trying to work through, trying to navigate through. So that's what we're going to focus on the next few weeks.
Yeah, topics that come into our offices. Yeah. Marriages, couples that come in and they're working through some things. Yeah.
And before we get into today, I'd invite you, if you guys have anything that you would like us to talk about on the podcast, drop it in the comments or direct message us, whatever, and get us the content, and we'll definitely hit it up. But today we're going to focus on the topic of how to fight to win. I don't know for you guys, if you guys ever find yourself in conflict in your marriage, but we do almost repeatedly, right?
On the daily.
Yeah.
There's conflict happening all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about how to win, and not necessarily how you can win, but how your marriage can win in conflict. And so if you see your spouse as the enemy at any point in any discussion or just in general, you are already losing.
Yeah. You've already lost. Yeah. And that's, I think that's one of the things that most of our younger couples or younger marrieds, the earlier married couples, really struggle with that, because we come in with our own predispositions and our own ideas of how marriage is supposed to look, and we hang on to being right. We hang on to what's mine to keep. Yeah.
The biggest way that you can win in your marriage and win in conflict is to make your marriage the priority.
Yeah.
Is your marriage winning at the end of this conversation, at the end of this argument, at the end of this disagreement, whatever you want to call it? If your marriage is winning at the end of it, then it's going well. If it's not, then there's some things that we need to adjust.
Yeah, the end game should be a long, happy marriage. Yeah.
So here are some reasons that we get into conflict in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Here's what is going to lead up to it. Here's reasons why. But it's, number one, communication. Right? How many of you feel like you are awesome at communication?
I think we've done better. I think we
get
better. We
get
better and better.
I'm not good at communication.
Yeah. Well, this is true. Most couples that come to counseling need work on communication. And that's the thing that you see on intake over and over again. We need help communicating. We can't understand each other.
Yep. Number one reason of couples I see, we need help with communication. Right? And there's probably some other things leading up to that. But communication is a problem. And not usually that you can't put words out there. It's how we use those words, right?
Yeah.
And maybe how we don't use words.
Our tone, our expression, the way we show up is communication.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We're actually going to get into this in a different topic, but we were having a disagreement about what communication meant today. And so communication isn't just the words you say, but sometimes the words you don't say and how you listen.
Yeah, the way we perceive that information. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Also, expectations, huge one. Expectations. I know in our marriage class, we have some different people brought up the idea that they should just know what I want.
Yeah.
Right? Or just know what I need.
For those of you who don't know, Tim is our marriage and family pastor at our church. And so we lead a class of couples every week. So much fun. We love our couples. And yes, you're right. We're bringing these topics up.
Yeah. And so we come into this thing that other people, our spouse, should know what we want, what we're thinking, what we expect.
He should just know.
Yeah.
She should just know what I need. And it's really unfair because we all come from different backgrounds. We come from different family expectations. Our parents and the adults in our life have demonstrated different modeling of how expectations should play out. Yeah. And so it can be really tricky to navigate. Tim and I were talking earlier, one of the things that we discovered early, within the first few months of marriage, we were talking before Tim left for work about my tires on my car needed to be changed or rotated or something. I needed a new tire. And the way that I grew up, my father was always the one in charge of the tires. He was the one in charge of making sure that Our cars were safe. And so as soon as Tim left for work, I'm on the phone with my dad. Where should I go? Who should I be talking to? What do I need to do about my tires? And of course, my dad and I came up with a solid plan. Tim gets home from work, and I then share the plan with Tim, and he was so upset.
She probably got 3 words into that. I didn't care what the plan was. It was the wrong plan.
Yeah.
Because what I took from that is that you don't trust me to take care of this stuff.
Yes, and we were only a few months into marriage. And so do you see the expectation there? My expectation was my dad was able to step in and help. And his expectation was he was taking on a new role as my husband and wanted and desired that role to be his. And it had nothing to do with respect. He respects my dad. He's so appreciative and thankful for my father. And also, he was looking forward to stepping into some of those responsibilities in our marriage. And so our expectations were way off and we had no idea.
Yeah. Jenna expected that she needed to go to her dad to take care of this. I expected to take care of it, right? And so we weren't on the same page with our expectations. And the biggest thing with expectations, if we don't communicate them, then the other person doesn't know doesn't know the parameters on how to navigate the relationship. And so if I would have communicated early on, I said, hey, you don't need to worry about your car. I will take care of it, right? And it's not that you can't go to your dad for things, whether it's the husband or the wife. Not that you can't go to your parents for things. But if there's things that are important to your spouse and they feel like they can take care of it or they want to take the lead on it, letting them do that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. So expectations matter. Yeah. Spoken expectations make a difference.
Yeah. Another big one is stress, being tired, being hungry. It's literally the Snickers commercial playing out in real life. Right?
Yeah.
If we come into a disagreement or we come into a conversation and we're hungry or we're tired, and this literally happened just a couple weeks ago, I don't know, I was going off about something. And Jenna's like, are you tired? I'm like, if I stopped and thought about it, yeah, I am tired. I need that. Sometimes we can avoid conflict if we just go back to kindergarten and have a snack and take a nap.
It's real. It's so real. Yep. And our bodies need it. And we are over here fighting through conflicts when really, if we just took a break and met some physical needs, it'd be better. And
we're going to talk a little bit about how just taking a break can be a helpful thing in conflict.
Yeah.
Even though it may not seem like that isn't a good thing.
Yeah.
Or it can be a bad thing. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But also feeling unseen or unheard, like the other person doesn't get what I'm trying to communicate.
I cannot tell you the worst emotion or feeling I have that shuts me down is the feeling of being invisible. I hate feeling invisible. I hate it when I'm talking and I feel like no one is listening, or I'm showing up and I feel like no one sees. And so this happens a lot in marriage where you're saying the same thing over and over again, or you're trying to communicate something, but it's not being perceived or understood, or maybe it feels like it's being blown off or dismissed. And it's super discouraging.
Yeah. And I think I even said to you earlier today when we were talking, getting ready for this, you're not hearing me.
Oh, right? More than once I heard you say that. And I'm like, I am hearing you. I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Yeah. And some of that was just, I couldn't find the right words. And we were just struggling to get on the same page. And we're realizing that it wasn't the words we were using. Our understanding of those words were just different.
Yeah. Our definition.
Yeah.
Simply, we're different. Yeah. So different.
And the last one we're going to bring up today is probably way more than what we're bringing up, but personalities. I'm not talking about multiple personalities. That's a different discussion for a different time.
For a different day.
But just different personalities. One of you might come into the marriage and you're just more loud and you're more verbal. And so when you get into conflict, your voice raises and you want to get your words out. Somebody else might be more reserved. They might tend to retreat in conflict than to get their voice out. And they can often feel unheard and unseen.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to seek to understand the other person's personality, and also to understand that as we grow and as we mature, if you have children, if you have family members, even if you're a sandwich generation and your parents are living with you, your personality takes shifts and changes as the years go by. So you're constantly learning who your spouse is and what they need and how their personality is shining through. I think it's important to realize that.
Yeah, and it's important to know your own personality because all of them have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah,
and so,
that's true.
Somebody who needs to get their voice out is often going to trample over the other person. A person who tends to run is going to really not hear what the other person is saying. Mm-hmm. So that there are things that we need to be aware of our own personalities and work on. We don't just get to be who we are because that's who we are, right?
Yeah.
God calls us to be more like him and less like us. And so that should be our goal. Not you need to accept me for who I am because that's the way I am, but I want to become more like the Lord so that I'm a better spouse for you.
Absolutely. I think that's such a great point. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. Well, that's just who I am, so you deal with it.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable. Unacceptable. And if you're a believer, you lay down yourself and you pick up the cross and you look more like Christ every day. And you're right. Your marriages will benefit from that and find some healing.
Yeah. So here's some of the biggest mistakes that couples make in conflict. First one is our goal is to win the argument. If that's what you're going for, you've already lost. You should just stop right now.
Yeah.
Because every time that we feel like we need to prove that we are right, we're going to end up being wrong. You might win it. Like you might win that idea of being right.
Yeah.
You might have the right information.
But at what cost?
Yeah. You're going to alienate your spouse. You're going to push them away and they are going to feel unseen and unheard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So another one is using the past. Such a big mistake. I've heard couples in the counseling room talk about, well, this person does this all the time. And
yeah. You want to stay away from where it's like, you never do this or you never do that. You never show up. You never do it right. You always,
Yep.
you
Never and
always, yeah, you always do it this way. You always, whatever. And you're bringing up like histories of things, but you're not championing your spouse and the things that they are good at, right? And we heard a pastor say several weeks ago that what you affirm will multiply.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if I'm affirming my husband and the things that he's good at, right, then I will see more of that in our marriage. But man, if I'm coming and criticizing all the things that he has done wrong in our marriage, all of the mistakes that he has made, all of the ways that he has hurt me, then that's going to shut him down. Eventually, Tim will say, well, I'm just a failure. Why even try?
Exactly. Why even continue trying to move towards something better if all they're going to see is all the bad things I've done or all the wrong things I've done? Mm-hmm. And really, the Lord doesn't do that to us. So we shouldn't do that to our spouses. We should really look at our spouse through the eyes of God and seek to call out the great things that God has put in them and call them to something better than what they are. Yep. Another one is character attacks. Attacking somebody's character is a horrible way to fight with your spouse. Mm-hmm. Can you give us some examples of what that might look like?
Oh, a character trait can be things like you're a slob, you're disgusting, you're always late, you never watch what you're doing, or you never watch where you're going. You're so clumsy, you know. And I think it's okay to tease each other and to have fun with some of the things and hang-ups. But man, if we weaponize them against our spouse, you find that you're just tearing each other apart, and you're not going to get anywhere in your arguments.
I think the big thing is that you're going after the person and not the problem.
Right. Exactly. We're losing sight of what we're actually arguing about.
Yeah, you're making your spouse the enemy instead of focusing on the problem that you're trying to solve. Right?
And that leads to emotions.
Yeah.
Like we get so emotional when we feel like we're losing, right? Or when I feel like I'm losing ground, we do start picking at those characteristics and things that we feel like we can trash because it gives us a leg up. And the problem, going right back to what he was saying, is when those emotions get out of control, we lose. We end up losing sight of what the real issues are, and we focus on what's wrong with our spouse, all the flaws and the hang-ups that they have, and it's just not fair.
Yeah, and we're actually going to talk about feelings in a little bit as a positive way to work through conflict. But I think one of the ways that gets used as a weapon is when we say, well, that's just the way I feel. That might be the way you feel, but that might not be the thing that moves you towards resolution and towards solving the problem. We have to be willing to identify the fact that our emotions constantly lie to us.
All the time.
Yeah. We might feel something, but that doesn't give you the right to stay in that feeling.
Yeah, and it doesn't give you the right to tear your spouse down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at some skills to help you guys win in conflict. We don't want to just talk about conflict. We want to talk about how to do
solutions?
Do it well, and win, right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
Number one, slow down. great way in any argument, any conflict, any heated situation, anytime where you're not seeing eye to eye, is just to slow down, put a pause on it, and maybe even do something else for a moment. But you have to be committed to coming back and resolving the problem. You can't just dismiss it and walk away. That's not going to solve anything.
Yeah.
But saying, hey, our emotions are getting the best of us, or hey, I'm finding it hard to communicate. I'm just not getting the right words out, or I'm not able to communicate in a way that you're hearing me. And so let's just stop for a second. Maybe let's grab something to eat. Let's sit down and watch a show together, or let's take a little break. I'm going to run an errand, but we're going to talk about this when we get back together.
Exactly. I think a good rule of thumb is the 90-second rule for pausing. Dr. Jay Taylor is a neuroscientist who talks about the chemical reactions that actually happen in our brain when we're triggered, if you will. So if you're hit with something that makes you angry or makes you afraid or embarrassed, humiliated, there's chemical reactions that are happening in your brain, and those chemical reactions explode and dissolve in around 90 seconds. And that's when that emotion is so intense. And that's when most people will respond. They want to react out of that emotional chemical reaction that's happening in your body. So if you are feeling that intensity, it's okay to pause. It's okay to breathe. Allow that reaction in your brain to have a second to calm down. It doesn't mean that the emotion goes away. You may still feel angry and you may still feel embarrassed, but the intensity has a chance to settle a little bit, to calm. The dust comes down and you can see your partner through the fog, if you will.
Yeah. Yep.
And so you're right, like taking a break, go grab a snack, sit down on the couch for a minute or run an errand, and that gives your brain some time to settle. You find words that actually are effective and not explosive or destructive. I think it's a good idea. Slow down, pause.
You can also communicate your feelings. And this is where we want to be very clear about what this means. It means talking about maybe how your spouse does something or says something, how that makes you feel. It's not saying that you're making me feel this way, but when you do this, I feel this way. And that opens up a conversation about how we can do things differently, and even how maybe you can change the way that you perceive things so that you feel different about the way things happen.
100%. If you use your feelings to generate curiosity and compassion, it changes the game for the conversation. So when I come to my spouse and I say, when you were late, we'll just use that. When you were late to this event, or when you were late to this appointment, something that we had set up for ourselves, it made me feel like you didn't care. Then follow with curiosity. Is that what you wanted me to feel?
Yeah.
And that gives him an opportunity to say, oh my goodness, absolutely not. I do care. Or it could be, I want you to know what it feels like because you're always late, And so, and that might not necessarily feel good to hear, but sometimes it's good to get an insight on the behavior and the reactions of what your spouse is going through.
And I think if you're willing to communicate how you feel, but hold that feeling with an open hand, understanding that your feelings might be communicating untruth to you.
Yeah.
You may feel this way because somebody else has done something. And so you associate that with your spouse because maybe they do something similar, and it's not a fair feeling. And so anytime that we communicate feelings, we need to hold those with an open hand, understanding that they may not paint an actual picture of, how the other person is communicating to us.
Yeah, and that's why reflecting is so important. So taking that example, it feels like you don't care. If Tim was to say back to me, literally mirroring, you said or you feel that I don't care, right? And it puts a pin in that feeling. You feel that I don't care. This is what you're getting from my behavior or my action, and and then he can take it whatever direction he wants, whether affirm, or confirm, or correct the actual meaning behind whatever behavior it is. But reflecting back what you're seeing can help your spouse see where they're at. Like, to hear their own words and to hear their own behaviors can actually be helpful too.
Yeah. And again, your goal with reflection is to really seek to understand what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
That's your goal. If
we're
you're
not
just
weaponizing.
saying things to, repeating something in a
like a
sarcastic,
mimicking.
sarcastic way or mimicking way. That's not going to help you at all.
No.
The point is to repeat things with the goal to make sure you understand what your spouse is saying.
Curiosity and compassion. Yep. Yes, absolutely.
We had some people a long time ago in a training that we were in talk about compassionate curiosity.
Yeah.
Seeking to understand your spouse so that you can love them better. That really is the goal.
Yeah. And that compassion kicks in because it is our obligation and our responsibility to assume the best of our spouse. And that is not always easy, especially if your spouse has a history of being unkind, right? And so sometimes it takes some extra work and some effort on your part to assume that your spouse isn't always trying to hurt you or always trying to put you down, right? To assume the best of them means that I am going to reflect on them. I'm going to look for ways to affirm and champion and look for ways to make them feel like a star, that they shine too in our relationship.
Yeah, and another thing to do is to look for repair moments. And one of the easiest, most powerful ways you can do that is to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? Move towards the other person, especially when it feels like you don't want to. That's when you should move towards the other person.
Yeah.
And listen, you're going to fight. It's going to happen. And things are not going to go well every time you fight. You're not going to do things to win in your conflict every time. And so when you fail at conflict, when you fail to see the other person, when you fail to hear the other person, you can move towards them and seek to repair by just coming to them and say, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to you. I'm so sorry. I yelled at you or I was angry. I'm so sorry I was responding to you out of this.
Repair moments look like being apologetic, right? Also, a repair moment can be finding things to laugh about. Lighten the mood a little bit. I'm not talking about being a jokester and turning everything into a joke, but being able to laugh at your own mistakes and laugh at your own irresponsibilities, right? And being able to lighten up the mood. Also, find ways to serve each other. For me, if Tim hands me a cup of coffee in the middle of conflict, I'm guaranteeing.
Which I don't often. Not
He
because I
doesn't
don't
do it
want
often.
to, but because she does a lot of weird things to her coffee.
I do.
I'm the same way. I drink
add all the
chai
things.
and I just make it a certain way when I'm at home. And it was like, how do you make it? I'm like, just let me do it. It's just easier for me to do it.
Yes. I think the best way that you've done it is if we're having conflict throughout the day and he shows up with my favorite order from Starbucks or whatever, it changes the mood. It moves us toward repair.
Or I invite one of my kids who drinks coffee to make her coffee for her because I know it's going to be closer than what I do. So that's how I do that.
Yeah, but that's just our own little quirky, way to move toward repair. What is going on in your marriage, or what are the things that you know about your spouse that serves them, that loves them, that would maybe tip the scales a little bit in the favor of repair?
Yeah. Yep. And then we want to encourage you guys to move conflict to connection, right?
Yeah.
Conflict is going to seek to take you guys away from each other.
Yeah.
That's going to be its goal. So being intentional about coming back together and moving towards each other in conflict, at the end of conflict, is going to be crucial. Think about it this way. If you, however you discipline your kids, if you just discipline them and walk away, then there's no movement for connection. But if you discipline them and then, maybe you give them a little bit of time to, work through their frustration or their crying because of the discipline, but then you come back to them intentionally and say, hey, I know that was hard to hear. I know, you're not happy with this consequence or this punishment or, being grounded, but I love you. I want you to know that I love you. And all of what I'm doing, I love you. I'm correcting you because I love you, right?
Absolutely. And so with relationship, with a marriage, the correction is going to look different.
Yeah.
Right? We don't correct each other like we would our children, right? But there are moments of correction. There are moments of, hey, I'm going to call you out on this because you're off. You're not right. And also, how can I come to my spouse with an invitation rather than accusing him of his flaws or accusing him of being wrong? Yeah. Is it possible to point some things out, to call some things out, wrapped in the comfort and the loving care of an invitation. I'm going to invite you into my space. I'm going to invite you into what I see, and a kind of a reflection moment. I'm going to tell you what I see. I'm going to invite you into my space, and maybe you and I together can discover some new ways to do things, the new ways to talk to each other, new ways to address conflict, and it can come out better on the other side.
Yeah, and this is maybe a little bit off topic, but it is good for you guys to have code words for each other to kind of signal the other person like, hey, you're getting a little out of control or a little over the top. Our phrase is
get over yourself.
Yeah, get over yourself. You need to get over yourself. And sometimes we can use that in not a productive way.
Yeah.
But often, whenever each of us uses that towards the other, I know it pauses me. I'm like, oh man, I need to recalibrate a little bit. I'm over the top, or I'm
I'm thinking too much of myself. I'm not looking outwards. And that works for us. When he says, get over yourself, usually the response is, you need to get over yourself. Usually that's the immediate response. Enough to start.
It's a reset button for us. So whatever that phrase is for you guys, figure that out ahead of time. Don't figure that out in the middle of the conversation, because it's not going to work. But figure it out ahead of time. When you're not in conflict. But that's a good way to help people reset when they're not hearing and they're just kind of inward focused. So But another way to do it is to be humble, right? Come into conflict and discussion and disagreement with the understanding that there are probably some things, some ways you're seeing things, the way you're hearing things or understanding things that may not be right.
We all have our hang-ups. We all have our flaws. When we come in hot, most people are not kind and most people are not respectful. And so understanding your own flaws can go a long way in arguing or fighting with each other. If you come in saying, I know I don't have it right, I know I'm not perfect, you can even be angry and say, I know I sound like a horrible person. And to put that humility in there, to show your spouse that you're not trying to lord over them, you're not trying to win the fight. However, there is a conflict that needs to be overcome. And when we invite each other into that, we can do it together and be stronger. Yeah.
Another way to be humble is to be a student, right? Everybody wants to be the teacher, right? That's the position of power. That's the position of knowledge. If you are willing to be the student in your relationship, number one, you're willing to seek out and understand your spouse better, it's going to put you in a better perspective when it comes to disagreements.
Yeah.
You're going to seek, okay, maybe there's something I'm doing wrong or pattern that I've been repeating that's adding to this conflict. Let me figure that out, and let me figure out what my spouse needs so that I can be a better spouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Like we were just talking about, seeking to learn. Also, we can identify what the real issue is. The issue isn't our spouse, or often isn't our spouse. The issue is there's some problem that we're trying to solve, right?
Yeah. And so remembering that the real enemy in the room is the issue at hand, the problem at hand. It's not necessarily your spouse. Yeah.
So
I think the end game, right, in fighting is my role or my hope is that I can protect our marriage. Protecting our marriage weighs out as more important than proving that I'm right. It's about understanding him and not trying to get the last word. Oh my goodness, we have kids in our house that need the last word, and it never resolves the issue. Never. It always makes it go in circles. So someone has to stop, and someone has to be okay with not having the last word, and honoring our spouse and understanding them is the best that we can. And I think at the end of the day, really, it's about growing together. I want to grow old with my husband. I want to sit on a park bench when we're 80 and hold hands.
We're a lot closer to that than
we really are than we were. Yeah. But we want to grow together and not seek to be the Lord over each other or to have control over each other. Yeah.
And so something I would love to do, if you are listening to this and if you're able to look back on a fight that you guys had and laugh, kind of like we did with the temperature thing.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear those, so drop them in the comments.
Did we share the temperature thing?
Yeah, we did. I think we did a little bit, didn't we? Did we share the story?
I don't think we didn't share that story.
Short version is we were fighting about something, and my wife got upset with me because I was done. I wanted to go to sleep. So I went to sleep, and I don't sleep well when it's hot. And if I wake up in the middle of the night, then I don't go back to sleep. And so
Yeah.
I
was standing on one
she was
side of the
voicing
bed.
her opinion about something. We don't know what it was.
It was almost 20 years ago.
Yes. We were newly married.
Barely, yes.
And
he rolled over in
Yeah.
the middle of a statement.
I was done with the conversation.
And I wasn't. And he rolled over and went to sleep. And you're right. I went to a different room, fuming mad, and knew that he would wake up if he got hot. And so I waited until he was good and asleep. And then I turned that heat all the way up in our tiny little apartment, and it got hot
So
fast.
wrong.
And I got under the
wrong.
covers, and I went to sleep and had the best night ever. And Tim,
Yes, I
Did
did
not.
not. I woke up and was up for the rest of the time.
yeah,
So
you're not going to fall asleep in the middle of my fight.
whatever. So if you got any funny stories like that, drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear them. Also, if you have topics that you want us to talk about on the podcast, let us know. We'd love to jump into the things that are pressing most on your marriage and what you guys are struggling with. So drop those in the comments. Always like us, follow us on our social media, and we'd love to hear more from you.
Yeah, we want to connect.
Next time we're going to talk about another hot topic, so we will see you then.
I'd still pick you in the checkout line when the coupons fail and the card declines, when the kids are screaming and the car won't steer, and I'm one small inconvenience from a breakdown in here. Yeah, I'd still pick you. You're my steady north, my Jedi.